Before you ask, no, I haven't abandoned Zenless. I've just fallen behind on patches a little and am still trying to catch up, so I'll get back to those videos soon. But to keep this channel from dying, I thought I'd instead reach deep into my anime past and talk about something that intrigued me back in the day. So, foreigners are an occasional occurrence in anime. You would usually know because their hair color would either be silver or blonde, and you'll find that they often speak broken English in funny accents. It's one thing for a foreign character to show up, but then you have the times anime characters actually go abroad. As a viewer, it must hit differently when one of these instances is your home city. You know that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he suddenly points at the TV? That was me in that one episode. Haru and Rin from Free found themselves in the greatest city Australia has to offer, Sydney. I guess Australia to everyone else in the world is a very easy place to envision. Spiders, kangaroos, crocodiles, Steve Irwin, Vegemite, etc, you get the drift. If they just threw Haru and Rin, swimmers by the way, into the outback, gave them bucket hats, had them eat a meat pie and made them say good day mate, I would have said good enough and gave them the thumbs up. But no, what got me intrigued was that they actually did their research. Scouted more like, because the places they visited and the way they portrayed the city was actually accurate. Way too accurate for me, to be honest. I almost thought that they would have drawn me in the background somewhere. But as accurate as it is, I couldn't help but nitpick a few things they did get wrong. A reminder, of course, that nobody is perfect. I didn't even expect them to portray Sydney as closely as they did, but if you've been living and breathing in the city your whole life, you tend to notice things. So what are they? The episode in question is Free Season 2 Episode 12. The previous episode had ended with Rin knocking on Haru's door and nonchalantly telling him that they were going to Australia, acting like it was just down the road or something. They then catch a flight, and this is where episode 12 begins. After the most unnecessarily forced Australian accent ever heard from a border security official,
"What's the purpose of your visit?"
and an admittedly pretty good English line from Rin,
Sightseeing.
the two make their way onto a bus bound for the city. Remember earlier when I said you knew that they were in another country because everyone suddenly either has blonde or silver hair? Well, look at the absolute state of this bus. Ironically, Haru is the only normal looking one here, as he's the only one with black hair. There's too much color. Obviously everyone dresses in all black around here. Also, this guy having that shade of red hair. Unless it's SmashCon season, you'll almost never see that shade of red here ever. Getting off the bus, they end up in one of Sydney's lesser known landmarks, the Archibald Fountain at Hyde Park. Good choice of setting, I have to say. I find it hilarious that they had Haru and Rin specifically sit behind the fountain rather than in front of it, mainly because, well, let's just say the statues are anatomically correct. Like for real, those things are leaving nothing to the imagination. The two rest here for a bit, though after a short while Haru realizes that Rin has run off somewhere, and he starts to panic. Now to be fair, I'd crap my pants too if I was suddenly left on my own in some foreign country with presumably little money or no reception. Thankfully, Rin comes back in no time, having bought drinks. Whoa, hold up. Where the fuck did he go? So anyone who's been to the Archibald Fountain would know that the paths surrounding the fountain are no short walk. If Haru was sitting here, then it would have taken a significant amount of time to walk to the nearest possible shop, which if I were to shoot a guess would be around this area. Haru did zone out, but he was somewhat attentive, so it should be safe to assume that Rin did not pass Haru's line of vision as he left, so his only option for routes to get to this area would be around the fountain. We don't exactly know how long Haru had zoned out for, but from what we were shown, I'm gonna be very generous and say he was gone for about 30 seconds. With that in mind, knowing where the closest possible place to buy drinks is, we can come to the conclusion that Rin is either a very fast jogger or quite literally teleported, because there was no way that was plausible in such a short amount of time. Next, the pair find themselves in a more famous Australian attraction, Bondi Beach. Well, I would assume it is, even if it is somehow portrayed as pretty fucking empty. Personally, I dislike Bondi Beach. Why? Because it's always crowded. boring, and there's plenty of other beaches dotted along the coastline with way more appeal. But people just seem to like this one. A little later, Rin has a flashback to when he first came to Australia. He's picked up by his homestay family at the airport, and it's important to note that they pick him up in a 2014 Nissan Jualis ST, similar to this one. That was a conscious choice. Leave it to Japan to slip a little ad for their own brands in anime. I'm surprised they didn't drive like an 04 Commodore SV6 or something, you know, an Aussie vehicle. I guess it makes him feel more at home. I guess, sure, like why not? We then get to see the time he briefly attended an Australian school during his homestay. Sheesh, damn Teach, you're looking fine. Apparently, the school he went to was Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry because what the hell is that uniform? 10 points to Gryffindor looking ass uniforms. Also, it's common for schools to differentiate their boys' uniform from the girls'. They can share the same color scheme, but there are usually slight differences in their designs, especially if a skirt is involved. So it was funny seeing Rin share a color scheme with the girls. Oh, I get it. It's because Rin is a girl's name. Oh, right. That's so funny. Can we talk about Rin's classmates for a second? I mean, look, you've got Miki Kaiwai from A Silent Voice, Lee Enfield from Girls Frontline, and deadass a generic Hoyoverse NPC over here. Admittedly, to this point, the episode's reliance on stereotypes are surprisingly far few in between. Sure, there are some here and there, but it's still within the realm of acceptable and not so in your face. That, however, falls straight apart when we are properly introduced to Rin's homestay parents. You have literal Steve Irwin as his homestay dad, right down to his signature gear, and the stereotypical Sheila as his homestay mom. Blonde, of course, to show that she is. His dad even says maid and everything. I love it.
So, mate, you got a girlfriend back in Japan?
They seem pretty sweet though, and I totally have to give props to their voice casting team because by the sounds of it, they actually found 2 English VAs and not just a Japanese guy and girl speaking broken English.
G'day, Haru. I'm Russell, glad to know you.
And I'm Laurie. Rin's told us all about you.
After a brief catch-up, Russell and Laurie drop Rin and Haru off at the hotel they're staying at. It doesn't show it in the scene, but eagle-eyed Australians would recognize that this hotel is actually the Russell Hotel, located at the Rocks, deep in the heart of the city, just down the road from the famous Harbour Bridge. Fun fact, back when this episode first aired, fans of the anime deciphered the name of the hotel and absolutely flocked it, flooding it with bookings, catching the hotel owners by surprise. Specifically, the fans wanted to stay in one specific room in the hotel. More on that later. Anyway, the Australian stereotypes make their triumphant return in this scene. Which one is that, you may ask? We don't follow the road rules. It's crucial to note that Laurie is the one portrayed as driving, because drivers in Australia sit on the right. And Russell is very clearly seen sitting here on the left talking to Rin. I know what you're thinking, stop that. But what gets me is that if you visit the scene where they drop Haru and Rin off in real life, you would find that, yes, it is a no stopping zone. You can't park there, mate. In fact, they parked over the damn sign. Stopping in a no stopping zone can net you a $232 fine if seen by a parking official. And the city is absolutely crawling with those. And she doesn't even have her indicators nor her hazard lights on. Whatever the case, I can't fault her. If you're Aussie and haven't bent a few road rules, then you have never truly lived. They then say goodbye to Russell and Laurie, and lo and behold, the scene which made the Russell Hotel famous comes about. So apparently, Rin books a hotel room in advance, but since their names sound girlish, Rin and Haru both being common girls' names back in Japan, rather than boys' names, the clerk just assumed they were comfortable sharing a bed, much to Rin's chagrin. They get one bed. That's the joke. The fangirls go wild. This is where the Russell Hotel craze originated. Fans booked out that specific room Haru and Rin stayed in, room 25. So much so that it was booked up to about a year in advance. Some even cosplaying as they stayed there. Now I'm sure that in the real world, being in the heart of the city and everything, the hotel has an obligation to rectify their mistake and give them 2 beds. No questions asked. But this is anime, so here we are. If only Rin knew he could walk 5 minutes down the road and get a better hotel. The next day, Rin and Haru head to Central Station and board a train bound for Sydney Olympic Park, namely the Aquatic Center, because let's not forget that this is a swimming anime. A shot is shown of the two standing on a platform in Central Station waiting for the approaching train. A train which approaches from the right. Small nitpick, but this is wrong because that train having approached from the right is actually heading into the city rather than away from it, meaning, to put it simply, they're standing on the wrong platform. The train they want should be approaching from the left, away from the city. So ideally, they should have been on this platform instead. One very familiar train ride later, they eventually make it to Olympic Park. Fun fact time. The train Rin and Haru rode is an older type train called the S-set train, which you will almost never see anymore as of 2025, since they were slowly phased out after 2016 and replaced with the newer split-seater trains we're used to today. End of fact. The next scene shows the two headed out of Olympic Park Station. Wait a minute. Did they just... Oh my god, they did. They exited through an entry gate. Before the episode ends and they fly back to Japan, Ren and Haru have this sort of aura farming moment where they notice the national swim team and just casually walk past them. This isn't a nitpick, but I just found it funny that they decided to show the national swim team, who the true main characters were. And of course, we can't forget that they're Australian.
Hey, mate. How's it going? Let's go!
Also, 6-7. In case you haven't got the gist of it, this whole video was made for fun. I am in no way, shape or form mocking the producers for making these mistakes. I think they did a fantastic job portraying the city of Sydney as accurately as possible, and it's also understandable that they had to tweak things to better fit the story. These ramblings are just nitpicks from someone who has lived there all his life. It's one of my favorite episodes of anime, and I wish other animes would take inspiration from it. Namely, the producer's dedication to research and visiting the places themselves rather than lean on pure stereotypes. If you haven't seen Free, it's one of the most popular sports animes ever made, and you definitely should.